What would you do if one slip of paper changed your life forever? That was me. One ticket, one random gamble, one ordinary evening that turned into something no one in my family could have even imagined. I'd always bought lottery tickets quietly, never told a soul. Not because I thought I'd win, but because it was my secret ritual. Most people waste $5 on coffee. Me? I wasted it on impossible odds. And every time I scratched, I told myself the same thing. It'll never happen. But what if it does? It was hope, not the desperate kind. The private kind, the kind you never admit out loud, because it makes you look foolish. Then, one Tuesday night, it happened. I was sitting alone at the kitchen table in my tiny apartment. My landlord had slipped another late rent notice under the door earlier that day. My fridge was empty except for half a jar of peanut butter and a carton of milk a week past its date. I scratched the first number, matched. Second number, matched. By the time I reached the last row, my hands were shaking so hard I dropped the coin. I checked once, twice, 10 times, and then I grabbed my phone, pulled up the official lottery website, and cross-checked. Every single number matched. I had won, not thousands, not even hundreds of thousands, millions. The kind of money that doesn't just pay rent, it buys the building. The kind of money that doesn't just change your life, it rewrites it completely. My chest felt tight, my ears rang. I thought maybe I was dreaming, hallucinating, having some kind of breakdown. So I sat there in silence, for minutes, for hours, just staring at the slip of paper that now held more power than anything else I'd ever owned. And then, the fear set in. Most people dream of winning the lottery and running straight to their family, telling everyone, crying, hugging, celebrating. But me, the very first thought that came to my mind was, don't tell them, because I knew what would happen. I knew my dad would suddenly treat me like the golden child, when he'd spent my whole life calling me the screw-up. I knew my mom would guilt-trip me with lines like, "We raised you. We sacrificed everything. Now it's time you take care of us." I knew my siblings would circle like vultures, demanding handouts, loans they'd never pay back, and guilt-laced speeches about how family helps family. I'd seen how they treated money before. I'd watched my brother cut off his best friend over $50. I'd watched my sister rant about how selfish cousins were when they didn't chip in for grandma's birthday dinner. I'd seen my dad bend over backward to impress his wealthy business friends, while dismissing anyone who couldn't afford the same lifestyle. Money didn't bring my family closer. It divided them. And now, I had more money than they could even comprehend. I stared at the ticket again, and a thought slipped into my mind. Not a nice thought. Not a winning the lottery made me believe in miracles thought. No. It was darker, colder, sharper. I thought, if they couldn't help me when I had nothing, why should I ever help them when I have everything? The idea burned in my head. It wasn't just about the money. It was about the truth. Because deep down, I didn't know if my family loved me, or if they only loved what I could give them. And now, I finally had the perfect way to find out. I wasn't going to tell them about the win. I wasn't going to celebrate. I wasn't going to share. Instead, I was going to play broke. I was going to ask for help, just small favors. Nothing big, nothing life-changing. And I was going to see who stepped up, and who walked away. It was a test. A dangerous one. But it was mine. I didn't sleep that night. My brain wouldn't stop racing. I kept rehearsing conversations in my head. What would I say? How would I ask? How would I keep it believable without letting the secret slip? The next morning I went to work like nothing had happened. The office was its usual prison of fluorescent lights and fake smiles. I sat at my desk, answering emails, nodding through meetings, all while a voice in my head whispered, "You're a millionaire, and none of them know." It was intoxicating, like I was living a double life. On the outside, I was broke, tired, struggling. On the inside, I was rich enough to buy the building, fire my boss, and walk out without a second glance. But I didn't, because I wasn't ready. Not yet. I had a role to play. So I leaned into it. I let myself look tired, stressed, desperate. I mentioned late rent in casual conversations. I sighed loudly when people talked about vacations I couldn't afford. I painted myself as the struggling underdog. And when I was sure they believed it, that's when I started my test. The first target, Daniel, my older brother, the one who had always lorded his responsibility over me, the one who never let me forget that I made less money than him, that I lived in a smaller apartment, that I hadn't made something of myself the way he had. If anyone was going to prove their loyalty, it should have been him. So I picked up my phone. I must have stared at his number for 20 minutes before hitting call. My palms were sweaty. My chest was tight. Not because I was scared of asking for money, I wasn't. I was scared of the answer. The phone rang. He picked up. "Yo, what's up?" I swallowed hard, kept my voice shaky. "Hey, listen, I hate to ask this, but I'm short on rent this month. Any chance you could spot me $100? Until Friday? Silence, then a laugh. You're kidding, right? I forced a nervous chuckle. No, I'm serious. I just need a little help. Another pause. Then he sighed. You know what, man? You gotta grow up. You're always screwing things up. I'm not throwing money away on you. Click. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my heart pounding in my chest. For a moment, I felt this rush of humiliation, like I'd actually been rejected. But then, a strange calm washed over me, because in that instant, I had my answer. It wasn't about the $100. It was about the fact that when I needed him, he chose to humiliate me instead of help. And that was all I needed to know. One name scratched off the list. The experiment had officially begun. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying the call. His laugh, his words, his complete lack of empathy. And the more I thought about it, the more something inside me hardened. For years, I'd been the one everyone joked about. The mess-up, the baby of the family who never got it together. But now, I had something none of them did. Power, and I wasn't going to waste it. The ticket was still tucked safely in my drawer. Every time I looked at it, I didn't just see numbers. I saw freedom. I saw justice. I saw revenge. Because this wasn't just money anymore. This was proof. Proof of who they really were. And I was ready to find out just how deep their selfishness went. If you want to know who someone really is, ask them for help when you're desperate. Not when things are going great. Not when you're celebrating. But when you're on the floor, flat broke, looking for a hand to pull you up. That's when the mask slips. That's when the truth comes out. And the first mask I wanted to rip off was my brother's. Daniel. He's the golden boy of the family. At least, that's what everyone says. Stable job. Big house in the suburbs. 2 cars in the driveway. Both polished to a shine. He's the one my dad brags about at barbecues, the one my mom uses as the benchmark whenever she wants to remind me I'm not doing enough. For years, I had lived in his shadow. Family dinners were basically just roast sessions, and I was always the punchline. Didn't matter what I did, Daniel had done it better. Didn't matter what I earned, Daniel earned more. So yeah, if anyone should have had my back, it was him. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The lottery just gave me the perfect chance to confirm it. I rehearsed the call all morning, pacing the floor, phone in hand, muttering to myself like a crazy person. Hey Dan, sorry to bother you, but I'm short this month. No, too soft. He'd hear the weakness. Yo man, can you help me out? I'll pay you back Friday. Better, short, simple, believable. My palms were slick with sweat, which was ridiculous, right? I didn't need his money. I had millions. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the answer. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to see which way he'd lean when it came down to it. Would he be the brother he pretended to be at Christmas? Or the smug shadow I'd known all my life? I dialed. The line rang twice before he picked up. Yo, what's up? His voice was casual, distracted, probably watching the game. I swallowed hard, forcing the shake into my words. Hey, listen, I hate to ask this, but I'm in a bit of a bind. Rent's due, and I'm short. Any chance you could spot me $100? Just until Friday. Silence. A silence that dragged too long. And then he laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not a laugh to lighten the mood. A cruel laugh. You're kidding, right? I tried to keep my tone desperate, small. No, I'm serious. I just need a little help. Just this once. He sighed. The kind of sigh you give when you're already annoyed, when you've already decided the answer is no. Dude, you gotta grow up. You're 30, not 13. You can't keep screwing up and expecting people to bail you out. I'm not wasting money on you. And then click, the line went dead. I just stood there, staring at my phone, the dial tone buzzing in my ear. For a second, I felt this wave of shame wash over me. Like maybe he was right. Like maybe I was the screw-up. But then, something shifted. That shame twisted, hardened, and in its place came clarity. He hadn't even thought about it. Not for a second. He could have said, yeah man, no problem. Pay me back when you can. He could have offered advice, encouragement, something. But he didn't. He laughed. He mocked. He hung up, all for $100. Pocket change to him. That's when it hit me. If my own brother wouldn't help me with something that small, he sure as hell didn't deserve to know I was sitting on millions. That night I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. The sound of his laugh, the smug tone in his voice, the way he didn't even hesitate before slamming the door on me. And the more I thought about it, the more I started to realize just how deep the cracks in our relationship ran. I remembered when I was 16, begging him to drive me to a job interview because my bike had a flat tire. He'd said he was too busy. Then later, I saw him hanging out with his friends at the mall, laughing, eating pizza, like my future didn't matter at all. I remembered when I asked him for advice about college applications, and he told me, don't bother. You'll probably drop out anyway. And yet, whenever he needed something from me help moving, a ride to the airport, A last-minute favor. I was always there. Always saying yes. Always showing up. But when the roles reversed? Nothing. It wasn't just about the $100 anymore. It was about the years. The patterns. The truth I'd been too blind to see until now. And now? I saw it clearer than ever. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I felt something burning inside me. Not sadness. Not anger. Something colder. Resolve. Daniel had shown me who he really was. And now, I had the power to show him what that decision cost him. Because when I looked at that winning ticket in my drawer, I didn't just see numbers anymore. I saw leverage. I saw justice. I saw a future where every single person who doubted me regretted it. My brother thought I was the screw-up. Fine, let him think that, because soon, he was going to find out just how big of a mistake he'd made. And the best part? I wouldn't have to say a word. All I had to do was wait. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calm. The decision was made. The test had begun. Daniel was the first name crossed off my list, and he wouldn't be the last. I poured myself a stale cup of coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and pulled out a notebook. I wrote down every name of the people closest to me, family, friends, even coworkers. One by one, I was going to test them. One by one, I was going to find out who really cared about me. And one by one, I was going to remember exactly who failed when I needed them most. Because when the time came to reveal the truth, I wanted the look on their faces to burn into their memory forever. I wanted them to realize they didn't just lose my trust, they lost their shot at millions. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. If Daniel's rejection stung, my sister's betrayal cut deeper. Emily, the one who always claimed to be the heart of the family, the one who posted endless Bible verses about kindness and family loyalty on Facebook, the one who said, no matter what, we'll always have each other. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Out of everyone, I thought, maybe just maybe she'd prove me wrong. So I tested her next. It was late afternoon when I called. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright, bubbly, rehearsed. Hey, little bro, what's up? I let out a shaky breath, tried to sound embarrassed. Hey, listen, I hate to ask this, but I'm behind on my car payment. If I don't pay soon, they're going to repossess it. I can't lose it, I'll lose my job. Could you help me out? Just a couple hundred. I'll pay you back. Silence. Then the fake sympathy tone. Oh, I wish I could, but things are really tight right now. You know how it is. Bills, kids, groceries. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me, forced a smile into my voice. Yeah, I get it. No worries. She sighed in relief. We made small talk for another minute before hanging up. I almost believed her. Almost. Until 2 days later. I was scrolling through Instagram when her story popped up. There she was, holding a brand new designer purse, champagne glass raised in the air, laughing with her friends at some rooftop bar. That purse alone cost twice what I'd asked her for. She could have helped. She just didn't want to. The sting wasn't the money. It was the lie. The casual way she had dismissed me, like my struggle was just background noise to her lifestyle. And that's when I started to see it clearly. Her kindness wasn't kindness at all. It was theater, something she put on for likes, for attention, for image. And when it came down to the moment where she could have proven it, she failed. But the worst test was still ahead. My parents, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, the people who'd brought me into this world, the people who always claimed, family is everything. If anyone would help, surely it would be them. Right? I drove to their house one evening, heart hammering in my chest. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the same floral tablecloth I'd grown up with, the same fridge covered in magnets and family photos. And I told them the story, that I was behind on bills, that I didn't know how much longer I could hold on, that I needed help. My dad leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes cold. He didn't even hesitate. Son, you made your bed. Now lie in it. I looked at my mom, silently begging for softness, for warmth, for anything, but she just gave me this tired smile. We can't keep bailing you out. Maybe this will finally teach you responsibility. Responsibility, that's what they called it. Watching their son drown over a couple $100 and doing nothing. I left that night with a pit in my stomach, not because I needed their help, I didn't, but because I finally knew. The people I thought would fight for me wouldn't even lift a finger. Driving home, headlights blurring through the tears in my eyes, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't sadness anymore. It wasn't disappointment. It was rage. All those years of being the punchline, all those times they told me I wasn't enough, all those moments I was desperate for their love, and they gave me judgment instead. And now, when I tested them, when I gave them one last chance to prove me wrong, they failed. One by one, mask by mask, the truth had come out, and it was uglier than I ever imagined. That night I lay in bed staring at the winning ticket. It glowed under the dim light, like it was mocking me, This tiny slip of paper held everything they wanted and everything they would never get. And for the first time, the thought of revenge didn't just cross my mind. It took root. I didn't just want them to know I'd won. I wanted them to regret every choice they made. I wanted them to choke on the memory of the moments they could have helped me, but didn't. They thought I was powerless. They thought I was still the screw-up. They thought they could laugh, dismiss, ignore, and I'd just keep crawling back. But now, I was the one holding the cards, and when I finally played them, they wouldn't even see it coming. Because this wasn't just about winning the lottery anymore. This was about exposing the truth and making sure they paid for it. Revenge doesn't start with fire. It starts with patience. Patience and planning. By the time I finished testing my family, I wasn't just disappointed, I was done. Done with the excuses. Done with the fake smiles. Done with being the one who always had to prove his worth. They'd failed me. And now, I was going to show them what failure really looked like. I could have taken the easy way out. I could have walked away, cut them off, disappeared into my new life of wealth. But that wasn't enough. If I vanished, they'd just keep living the same way. They'd shrug it off, laugh about how I was the screw-up who finally gave up, and worst of all, they'd never know what they'd lost. No, I didn't just want them out of my life. I wanted them haunted by me. I wanted them to remember the day they turned me away, and realize it was the day they destroyed their own future. So I crafted a plan, not just a plan to escape them, a plan to expose them. The first step was building the stage. I bought the biggest mansion in town, 30 rooms, marble floors, a chandelier that could blind you if the sunlight hit it right. It wasn't just a house, it was a monument, a statement, but I didn't move in right away. No, that would have ruined the surprise. Instead, I made sure the purchase was quiet, discreet, no flashy announcements, no social media posts. I wanted the reveal to be sharp, shocking, undeniable. I furnished the place with care, not gaudy, not tacky, elegant, rich enough to make their jaws drop, subtle enough to make them wonder how I'd pulled it off. And then, I set the trap. I crafted a story about a mysterious millionaire in town who was looking for staff. I told my family through casual conversation, whispers, a little acting that I'd heard of someone hiring. Drivers, housekeepers, assistants. The pay? More than they'd ever dreamed of. I didn't even have to push. The second they heard money, their eyes lit up. Suddenly, their schedules were clear. Suddenly, they were desperate to impress this stranger. What they didn't know was that the stranger was me. I'll never forget the day of the interviews. I sat in the mansion's grand foyer, dressed in a suit that cost more than Daniel's car. I checked my watch, sipped expensive whiskey, and waited. The first knock came right on time. It was my parents, both dressed to the nines, nervous smiles plastered on their faces. They thought they were meeting a savior. I opened the door, and the look on their faces, oh, I'll never forget it. Shock, confusion. Then the slow, creeping realization. Surprise, I said. Turns out the millionaire you wanted to work for is the same screw-up you refused to help. They froze, silent, staring at the chandelier, the marble, the suit, and then the excuses began. Son, we didn't mean it. You know we've always loved you. We were just trying to teach you responsibility. I let them talk. I let them scramble, beg, rewrite history in real time, and then I reminded them, word for word, every cold rejection, every cruel remark, every time they turned me away when I needed them most. Their faces flushed, their eyes darted, their voices cracked, but they couldn't deny it, because the proof was me, standing right there in front of them, a millionaire they'd pushed aside when I was broke. But I wasn't done. Next came Emily. She walked in with that fake sweet smile, the same one she wore in all her pictures. But when she saw me sitting there, she froze. Wait, you're the... Yep, I cut her off. The same brother you lied to. The same brother you couldn't even help keep a car. Her cheeks went red. She stammered, searching for excuses. I didn't mean things were tight. I pulled out my phone, held up her Instagram post. The purse, the champagne, the rooftop bar. Looks pretty tight, I said, smirking. She looked down, speechless. Finally, Daniel arrived. Confident, smirking, probably thinking he was about to land an easy job thanks to his responsibility. But when he saw me, his face twisted into something ugly. Shock? Anger? Fear? What the hell is this? He snapped. I stood, buttoning my jacket slowly. This, I said, is what happens when you laugh at your own brother for asking $100. This is what happens when you treat me like garbage. This is what happens when you fail the test. He tried to recover, but the rage in his eyes gave him away. He wasn't sorry. None of them were. They weren't ashamed of what they'd done. They were ashamed they'd lost. That was the beauty of it. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to punish them with words. The punishment was the mansion, the suit, the wealth they could never touch. I was the proof of their failure. They thought they'd broken me. Instead, I'd become untouchable. But I wasn't satisfied with just shocking them. No, I wanted it to burn. I wanted it to stick with them for the rest of their lives. So I dragged it out. I showed them the mansion, room by room. I let them sit on the leather couches, run their fingers over the polished wood, breathe in the luxury. I let them taste the life they could have been part of. And then I took it away. I told them point blank, you had your chance, you failed, and because of that, not a single cent of this fortune will ever be yours. The silence that followed was deafening. Faces pale, eyes wide, mouths open, but no words. That silence? That was revenge. But here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't end in one moment. It's not a quick strike. The sweetest revenge is slow. So I didn't cut them off completely. I gave them scraps. $100 here, 50 there. Just enough to keep the hope alive. Because I wanted them to chase, to beg, to wonder. I wanted them to live every day asking themselves, will he forgive us? Will he share it? Will today be the day? And then, when the answer was always no, that's when the real suffering began. See, revenge isn't about destroying someone in one move. It's about control. It's about making them live with the knowledge of what they lost. And I had all the control now. They could hate me. They could resent me. They could plot against me, curse my name, cry themselves to sleep. It didn't matter. Because in the end, they knew the truth. They failed me. I rose anyway. And now, I was the one writing the rules. That night, when I closed the mansion doors behind them, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Not just from their judgment. Not just from their cruelty. Freedom from their grip. From their power over me. I wasn't the screw-up anymore. I wasn't the underdog. I wasn't the one they laughed at, dismissed, ignored. I was the millionaire they couldn't touch. The brother, son, sibling they'd betrayed. And the man who had finally taken control. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. Because revenge doesn't end with one reveal. It lingers. It grows. And the real fun was only just starting. People think revenge ends with a single blow. A mic drop. A slammed door. A clean break. But revenge is never that simple. It's a game. A long one. And every move matters. After that day in the mansion, I thought maybe I'd gotten it out of my system. I'd shown them who I really was. I'd made them see what they'd thrown away. But the truth? The hunger didn't go away. It grew. Because every time I looked at them, every call, every forced smile, every fake apology, I saw it. The greed, the envy, the desperation. They didn't love me. They wanted what I had. And I realized something chilling. They'd never stop circling. Like vultures, they'd keep waiting, keep hoping I'd crack, keep begging for scraps. So I decided to end it. Completely. Once and for all. It started with invitations. I told them I was hosting a family dinner at the mansion. A chance to reconnect. A chance to heal old wounds. They arrived dressed like royalty. My father in his best suit. My mother in pearls. Emily in a dress so flashy it screamed desperation. Even Daniel showed up with a forced grin, pretending he was happy for me. They thought this was the night I'd finally give in. The night I'd forgive them. The night I'd share the fortune. They didn't know it was the night I'd bury them. The dining table stretched long, candles flickering, silverware shining. I served them the finest meal money could buy. Steaks, lobster, champagne. Every bite meant to remind them of the world they weren't part of. We laughed. We reminisced. They played their parts beautifully, smiling, clapping, pretending we were one big happy family again. But I could see it in their eyes. They weren't here for me. They were here for the money. And that's when I dropped the first bomb. I've been thinking about the future, I said, swirling my glass. About my will. About who I want to leave everything to. The room froze. Forks clinked against plates. Every head turned toward me. Their eyes lit up like children on Christmas morning. I didn't have to say it. They thought they knew. They thought this was the night their greed would finally be rewarded. But they were wrong. I reached under the table and pulled out 4 envelopes. One for each of them. I slid them across the polished wood. Go ahead, I said, smiling. Open them. They tore them open with trembling hands. Inside? A single photo. Not money. Not contracts. Not a shred of inheritance. Just a picture. A picture of me sitting at their kitchen tables, in their living rooms, on their couches. A A reminder of the exact day I'd asked each of them for help. The exact day they turned me away. Each photo captioned with the same words, written in bold ink. This was the day you failed me. The silence was deafening. Faces flushed. Hands shook. Daniel's jaw tightened. Emily's eyes darted. My mother pressed her lips together, and my father's face turned stone cold. They looked up at me, speechless. I leaned back, calm, collected. You want to know who I'm leaving my fortune to? I paused, letting the tension stretch like a taut rope. Not you. I told them I'd already written the will. That every penny, every house, every car, every investment was going to charity, to strangers, to people who would never turn their backs the way they had. Their faces twisted. Anger, shock, desperation. Daniel slammed his fist on the table. This is a joke. Emily's voice cracked. You can't be serious after everything I cut her off. After what? After you lied? After you watched me drown and laughed? After you failed me again and again? My voice rose, sharp, final. No. You don't get to rewrite the story. You don't get to claim love now. The truth is simple. You failed the test, and I don't reward failure. The room fell silent again. But this time, the silence wasn't shock. It was defeat. They knew it was over. No more pretending. No more second chances. No more scraps. The game was finished. I stood, pushing back my chair, my shadow stretching across the table. Dinner's over, I said. Get out. One by one, they rose. No arguments. No more begging. Just silence, heavy and bitter, as they filed out of the mansion. And for the first time in my life, I watched them walk away, knowing I didn't need them anymore. That night, when the doors closed behind them, I felt something I'd never felt before. Not anger, not sadness, not even triumph. Peace. Because revenge wasn't just about making them hurt. It was about taking back control. It was about breaking the chains they'd wrapped around me since I was a kid. And I had broken them completely. They would live the rest of their lives haunted by the fortune they could have shared. Haunted by the memory of the moments they failed me. Haunted by the fact that I had won, and they had lost. And me? I was finally free. Free from their judgment. Free from their greed. Free from the need for their love. I didn't just win the lottery. I won my life back. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.